detectives from the Directorate of Criminal Investigations (DCI) are still unraveling the puzzle of suspected serial killer, 24-year-old Hashim Dagane Muhumed. The Ethiopian national of Somali descent has already been identified as the primary suspect in the recent murders of 3 women in Nairobi's Eastleigh neighborhood, according to John Onyango, Deputy Director of the Directorate of Criminal Investigations (DCI). Muhumed is suspected of a history of violent crimes, including the murder of one of his wives and their 3 children in Ethiopia. Though the circumstances surrounding his release from custody there are unknown. A supermarket receipt has helped Nairobi police solve the puzzle of a severely mutilated body found near Langata Cemetery on October 31st. Authorities discovered the dismembered and boiled body of Deka Abdinor Garon, a resident of the California estate in Nairobi, dumped at the Langata Cemetery entrance. Investigators have now identified her alleged killer as Hashim Dagane Muhumed, a man linked to other recent murders in Nairobi. The investigation into Deka's death began when her family reported her missing. On October 24th, a report filed at the California police station. Detectives tracked her last known movements following her disappearance thanks to CCTV footage, a series of digital trails, and crucially, a receipt from a supermarket near her last known location. Deka's last known sighting was in Nairobi's Lavington area, where she had traveled to meet Hashim. Deka's last known sighting was in Nairobi's Lavington area, where she had traveled to meet Hashim. The two checked into a short stay room before joining him. CCTV footage captured Deka shopping at a nearby supermarket, where she paid via M-Pesa, Kenya's mobile payment system. After collecting her receipt, she placed it in her pocket and exited the store, unaware of its significance. Police searching the scene recovered the receipt after discovering her body in a black plastic bag near the cemetery. They used it as a critical lead, identifying the supermarket and retrieving transaction details. Through digital forensics, they traced the mobile number used to pay for the shopping to Deka's registered M-Pesa account, confirming her identity. When detectives reached out to her family, they were able to identify her as Deka, the woman seen on CCTV. The family, already distressed by her unexplained disappearance, was devastated by the grim discovery. Upon identifying her, detectives intensified their investigation by scrutinizing her phone records. They discovered a string of conversations using a phone number belonging to Hashim, the primary suspect. This connection led them to an apartment in Lavington, where Deka had allegedly spent her last hours in the company of Hashim. During a search of the apartment, authorities discovered some of Deka's personal belongings, including her shoes and handbag. They also recovered a panga, a machete-like tool believed to have been used in the murder. CCTV footage from October 31st shows Hashim leaving the apartment with the bags, which police suspect contain Deka's remains, later dumped at Langata Cemetery. Use of chemicals. Detectives believe the killer used a chemical to meticulously strip the bones of flesh. The motive behind the murder remains unclear, though Hashim's connection to several murders suggests a disturbing pattern of violence. Hashim's background only deepened the horror surrounding the case. Investigators discovered that he was previously a regional police officer in Ethiopia before moving to Kenya. In Nairobi, he worked as a driver at various schools in Eastleigh and managed to blend into the local community. This isn't Hashim's first brush with the law. He had already been linked to the murders of 3 members of a family in Eastleigh: Amina Abdirashid, her aunt Waris Dahaba Daud, and her niece Nuzeba Abdi Mohammed. Despite this history, Hashim remained elusive, shifting between Eastleigh and Lavington, while occasionally venturing as far as Somalia and Ethiopia to evade capture. The search for Hashim took a critical turn when an informant tipped of the police about his whereabouts. Surveillance footage from November 2 captured Hashim casually leaving a building in Eastleigh, which he frequented to scout for taxi customers. This sighting triggered an intensified manhunt, with investigators closely monitoring his movements through forensic trails and employing digital tracking systems. With Hashim in custody, police are working to unravel the motive behind Deka's killing. They are also investigating whether he had accomplices who helped him carry out the elaborate cover-up and dispose of the evidence. Among the unanswered questions is the whereabouts of Deka's mobile phone, from which her family reported receiving a call on the day of her discovery. The landlord of the Lavington apartment, now missing, is also cited as a person of interest. After Hashim's departure, the landlord reportedly repainted the rooms and cleared any evidence of the crime before disappearing. suggesting possible involvement or knowledge of the events that transpired.